Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on Nerdy Talk do not reflect those of Anime Herald. Due to strong language, listener discretion is advised. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to Nerdy Talk, the only podcast that's recording from the Universal Century. I'm Mike Ferreira, and I am joined by Matt Brown and Anthony Simpson. Alright, this weekend it's New York Comic Con, and we got some big news this weekend. I'm proud to say it, Gundam is back! Woohoo! Earlier today, Sunrise announced that they are partnering with Right Stuf to release the entire library of Mobile Suit Gundam in North America, outside of the newest one, Gundam Reconquista. That includes original Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Gundam Double Zeta, Turner Gundam, Gundam like everything. It's all coming out. It's finally coming back to America. So this is huge news, gigantic news. So I want to bring this up for discussion. What are your thoughts, everyone?
I'm fucking happy. As a Gundam fan, I can't wait. Now, I was kind of curious so they didn't have the newest one, G Reconquista, as part of that distribution process. I was kind of surprised. I thought they would Bandai would have had Right Stuf do that. I know they said they're shipping around, so I guess we might hear something about that probably before the year's over.
Yep, they said that they are in the final stages of negotiation at this point. They just couldn't announce anything concrete this weekend.
Yeah, that caught me by surprise, because I thought they would have had them at least distributed for them, but I guess they want to have somebody else do that one.
Because it's the only one that really hasn't been translated yet, so they're probably just shopping it out to the highest bidder at this point, is what I'd wager.
Oh, that, or Right Stuf could still get it. I mean, that's still a possibility. In the end, they could just go, yeah, we'll just, Right Stuf's going to distribute it.
True. It could just be a case where, it's just going to happen. They just didn't have everything in place to get the announcement out with the rest of the Gundam stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't see them having it where, you have all, I'm going to use this word somewhat incorrect, the historical stuff, and then have, this brand new one just kind of, off somebody else have it. I don't necessarily see that, but, it could happen. But I could be wrong. I still think probably Right Stuf is going to get it in the end. I might be mistaken.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I'm not going to be making any speculation, but I really wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But with this announcement, we can now say this. We can finally subject people to the Gundam Hammer.
Yes. I'm actually happy because some of the shows that I'm really interested in are finally getting releases over here, at Gundam X, which has never been released over here, Victory Gundam, which is a personal favorite of mine, and the one that I'm one of the 4 people that seem to like, Gundam Age.
Definitely, and on top of that, we're also getting the stuff that has a lot of mainstream pull still, like Seed and Wing. Even though they're not always favorites, they are fairly popular. So it's good to see everything finally getting back into circulation.
Right.
I would say you have a curious definition of mainstream.
Well, quote-unquote mainstream. Yeah.
Sorry.
There are a couple of Gundam titles that are pretty well known among anime fans. And I was actually going to say something along these lines that it's I love Gundam. It's one of my favorite things. But I couldn't help but wonder if there were crickets chirping in that announcement room. Because I think even among anime fans who are at least aware of Gundam, there are not that. It's a very red ocean. There are not that many Gundam fans. At least that's my sense. And I think it's true of mecha in general, to be honest. But I'm very happy about this announcement. The only thing that's gonna bug me is the first time that I literally blink and miss a release and I can't get it. Because, we're talking about Right Stuf here. It's going to be, I would assume, very limited releases. And for a very limited time.
Probably.
I hope not, because, I love me some Gundam, but depending on how fast this comes out, I might not be able to grab them as soon as they come through, which would just kill me.
Right, and this is Bandai's sort of the one I think running the thing. Right Stuf's just being a distributor, so Bandai's gonna be the one calling the shots here, so maybe they will do that. I mean, now I'm not gonna get everything because, I didn't like Wing. I mean, I watched it, and I probably would have liked it if I was still 14, but I'm not 14, so I didn't care for Wing. I'm probably not gonna get Seed again. I watched it twice. I think that was enough for me, and I'm definitely not getting to see Destiny because that shit was fucking terrible.
Yeah,
dude, you watched See Destiny?
Yes, I did.
Oh man, I'm so sorry for you.
Well,
I haven't even seen that, and I liked Seed a lot.
I mean, Seed's not terrible. I like Seed towards the end. It's just I'm just like, I still got the Bandai sets. Now I can tell you what I'm not also going to get is those Seed movies because those were bad.
Those were atrocious.
Well, the editing was so fucking terrible. It's like, oh, are you coordinator? Next shot. Oh, they're having a battle. I'm like, wow. I'm like, can you edit that any fucking worse?
Honestly, I think with a couple notable examples, there's no point in watching Gundam movies.
Yeah, because I seen the 0083 one, and let me tell you, that was bad. That wasn't good.
There are very few I tell people to watch, and I can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
Usually it's...
Yeah. Well, there's the 8th MS Team one, right? Miller's report.
Well,
and Char's counterattack.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Now, one thing I am curious about, because we obviously don't know yet, it's still way too early, what kind of releases are these going to be? I mean, I know Right Stuff really doesn't do Blu-rays yet, and I know some of these releases in Japan have Blu-rays, like I know the original series does, the original movie trilogy does, Zeta and Zeta do, Wings got one now, I know Turner just got one, and obviously the newer stuff obviously has Blu-ray releases, so I'm just kind of curious for some of those if we're going to start seeing Blu-ray releases, or if these just are going to be, just going to be DVD-only releases.
Well, I'm going to actually say that they did do Unicorn on Blu-ray, so I wouldn't be shocked to see if a TV, like the various stuff, as long as there's a Blu-ray release.
Well,
Sunrise is probably going to demand a Blu-ray release.
Probably, but now, yes, Unicorn did get a Blu-ray release, but that was not the Nozomi release, the Right Stuff release, because that was just DVD only.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what kind of prices they think they can get for this stuff.
Right.
I mean, Unicorn, I would argue, is a special case because it was a worldwide release at pretty much Japanese prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like you said, not everything has a Blu-ray release. Like, I know Victory's never going to get one because I hated that show. I just want to see... I know it would be best if they put when they put out Victory Gundam, if they put Tomino's quote about when the Japanese release, which I guess they interviewed him for, and he said basically along the lines of "Don't buy this show," because he was not happy with that one because he was trying to, I think, kill the franchise because he was tired of Sunrise and basically pushing to make more shows to sell toys. So he's like, "That's it. I'm going to make this show. It's going to kill the franchise," and well, it obviously failed. But yeah, I just want to see them put that in the release as quotes that "Don't buy this."
Well, to be fair though, I mean, that's where Tomino kind of belongs. Every single other project done ended so horribly. We had Brain Powered, we had Garzy's Wing.
Okay, well, I haven't seen Brain Powered, and I haven't seen Garzy's Wing, so.
TLDR, Brain Powered's fucking terrible.
Well. I mean, Victory ended fine. It's just when Tomino's depressed. I mean, that's when he just starts killing people en masse. I mean, that's why they call him Kill 'Em All Tomino. And let me tell you something: a lot of people die in Victory, and very violently, might I add. Well, let's put it this way: you see a lot of people and they show them getting vaporized in their cockpits by beam sabers. Somebody gets decapitated by a capital ship. You have somebody get crushed from space debris. I mean, it has everything. Because it has, like, the most... I don't want to call it the trollish OP, because, like, the first OP's, like, real happy. It's like, stand up to the victory, and it's real, like, upbeat, and you're, like, thinking, oh, this will be a fun show, and then, people start dying, and it's like, oh, it's one of those kind of shows.
Everybody dies.
Oh, well, yeah, But like I said, when Tomino's depressed, that's why they call him... Kill 'Em All Tomino's. When he's depressed, those shows, a lot of people die. Not just, no-name characters, but a lot of name characters. But yeah, I'm real stoked. I was just wondering if I should just send a blank check stuff and just say, here, write them out for the Gundam stuff. Here you go.
I'm just gonna send him a bag of my blood and say, there's more if you need it.
Yeah, that got dark.
Yeah.
It got as dark as cross, Angie.
I'm very excited about seeing Turna.
Yeah, I've only seen a little bit of Turna myself. I need to finish
likewise,
it.
I really liked what I saw. It's just I can't get over that mustache gun.
Well, those mobile suit designs are very different. I mean,
they are.
But it's like they're like acquired taste on that one.
And other than that, I have a handful of other Gundams that I either missed by accident or am mildly interested in. Double Zeta. I actually haven't seen all of it. 8th MS team.
But you showed it in that one. That 8th MS team is fucking fantastic.
It is amazing.
And I hope that one gets a Blu-ray release, because I seen I think it was earlier, I looked at the Japanese Blu-ray rips, and holy shit, that is fucking beautiful. I mean, I know it's an almost 20-some-year-old show, but holy hell, does it look fantastic.
And you saw G Gundam, right, Mike? I forget if you said that was good or not.
Well, it's one of those shows where you either really like it or you really don't, because it's more like a fighting show with a Gundam theme to it. Like the whole first arc revolves around this giant Gundam tournament where your main character Domo is traveling across the world fighting these other Gundams, so he can find these his brother. It was cheesy, it was hammy, but it was enjoyable. Yeah, I had fun with it.
I love G Gundam. I mean, hey, if you can get past hilariously ethnic stereotypes, you'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like Punch Out in terms of the ethnic stereotypes.
Yeah, because you have like the Gundam from America. He not only rides a hovering surfboard, he's also dressed like a American football player, and also has some type of boxing gloves on. So.
And his Gundam boxes. Yeah. Gundam Max.
Yeah.
Fucking ketchup and fucking mustard.
Then you have Master Asia, who is your stereotypical Chinese guy. He knows kung fu.
Hey, and if you get strong enough, you can jump, fly, and sidekick a building.
Yeah, exactly. It was
well,
cheesy, but it was
that doesn't sound any more crazy than stopping a car with your feet. Which did not happen in Gundam. I'm just saying.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, was G Gundam the one with the Sailor Moon Gundam, or was that another one?
That was G Gundam.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, there was literally a Gundam Sailor Moon.
Yeah, what was that? Which country was that? Was it Neo?
I can't remember the country, unfortunately.
Let me look.
Alright, yeah, Sailor Moon Gundam. It is hilarious because it is quite obviously Sailor Moon in Gundam form, and it is awesome.
Neo Sweden.
Even does the poses and everything. It's great. Alright, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah, so am I.
Alright, getting away from Gundam for now. The new anime season started in the past couple weeks, and with that came a gaggle of new great shows, so I want to know what you guys are watching.
I actually have about 11 shows I'm checking out. Well, actually, I checked out 12. Sorry, I misspoke there. I actually have watched 12 shows, but I only dropped one of them, so right now I have about 11 shows I'm watching.
All right. Any that you'd really like to highlight, or?
Well, I'm actually going to talk about a couple of them here.
All right.
I'm going to start with probably the show that... Well, one of the shows that surprised me the most was Rage of Bahamut Genesis. So apparently this anime is based off a card game for smartphones. I had absolutely no expectations going into this. I thought, well, I usually not big on some of these adaptations from games. I'm like, and I kept hearing man, this is great. That was an excellent first episode, and I'm like, I'll check it out. And you know what? I was pretty fucking great because it had everything anyone could want. We had dragons fighting each other. We had dragons shooting laser beams out of their mouths. We had people fighting on top of giant water wheels with swords. We had some fan service thrown in, not a whole lot. We had monsters. We had magic used, and it's set in sort of a world that's sort of like a mix between like a Western setting, and what I mean by Western, like I mean like a Wild West type setting, like in a cowboy movie, and a fantasy setting, kind of all mixed into one. And I had to say that's probably one of the best first episodes I've seen for this season, if not the year. I mean, I don't know if the show can keep up with that, because if it does, that'll be probably the best show of the year. That'll probably be one of the best shows I've seen this year. But I mean, and it looked great. The character designs were really cool. Like I said, it had some fan service, but nothing I would say that would substantially take away from the show. It was just like a few scenes here and there, and it looked fucking great. It looked amazing, and I just hope it can keep up that intensity, because if it does, I think it'll be a really good show. I'm going to talk about another show here going to be the Twin Tales. I'll preface this by saying this: that show is fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. Like, okay, so here's the plot of the story. This guy has a thing for twin tails, the hairstyle. So he notices all the girls at school who happen to have twin tails. So one day, this large-chested girl with white hair shows up at his mom's cafe and says he has to stop these monsters from these aliens who apparently, when they come down and when these aliens come, they take away the girl's twin tails. Now, yes, it is fucking stupid. But here's the whole thing, though. It works. It somehow, in this whole crazy thing, it works. Because this show does not take itself seriously. It knows it's stupid. And it plays on that because they have a whole thing, this monster, this dinosaur, looks like it's something out of a Sentai film, or Sentai show. What I mean by Sentai, I mean like something like Power Rangers type show. And it was this one scene, I'm trying to remember, it was this little girl, he puts her in this bubble and brings it to her, and she's like, don't harm my daughter, so it's like, I'll get the stuff ready. So what they do is these guys in these ridiculous kind of like black colored leotards bring down this carpet, bring down these studio lights, and they put down this couch, and it's just full of stuffed animals. And go, here you go, little girl, here you can enjoy this. And I saw that, I'm just like, yep. I said this show is ridiculous. I said, but in the fact that as ridiculous as like I said as it sounds, it somehow all works together.
So,
mainly because it doesn't take itself seriously, and surprisingly, there isn't a lot of fan service. Like okay, so I mentioned that there was a white-headed girl, and she's got really large breasts. So she walks up to the guy and grabs him, and she's just like, "Here, you want to touch these?" And he's just kind of like, "No, I ain't having any of that." He just kind of puts his hands in the air like he's surrendering. He's like, he don't want to touch him. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to watching more of that one. Just as It's just something kind of one of those stupid shows that sometimes you watch that, yeah, it's ridiculous, but you just can't help but keep watching.
It is pretty funny, isn't it? Like, I can't even count the number of shows where the main character touches his childhood friend's boob accidentally.
Well,
in the first episode. And and the first show where a girl wants him to do it, he's like, no.
Well, the thing is, there is a childhood friend character, but she's flat-chested, so.
Of course.
Yeah.
Does she have tails?
Yeah, she has twin tails.
Of course she does.
Well, he's, like I said, he's into girls with twin tails, which I am too of my anime characters. I like that. Not in real life, but.
So, what happens to these girls when their tails get taken away?
Well, basically, their hair's let down, like they didn't have it tied up, and they don't remember what happened. And then when he kills the monster, the twin tails go back, and they're like, "Oh, my hair's back to normal."
So it's like roofies and a haircut.
Well, nobody gets raped or sexually assaulted.
Did I say they did?
No, but yeah, it just was like I said, it's just dumb fun. I mean, it's not show of the year material, but I can enjoy it for what it is. Like I said, if it took itself seriously, I'd be just like, "Oh my fucking god, please stop!" But since it doesn't, I can just enjoy it for what it is. I'm going to actually talk about just a couple more here. I'm going to talk about Psycho Pass 2. because obviously this was the sequel of the first season, Psycho-Pass, and it didn't disappoint, at least to me. I know some people I read weren't real happy with the way the first episode was, because it basically just jumps you right into the action. Akane now, she's obviously returns, and she's pretty much now the same as she was at the end of the first series. So for anyone who's seen the first series will know what I'm talking about. And so she basically now leads a group of enforcers, some returning cast members, some new ones. And I enjoyed it. Like I said, it jumped right in the action. It didn't have to go through the whole some of the exposition like the first series did in the first episode. I know some people were concerned because it's not Production IG doing it. It's Tatsunoko Productions, which I thought it still looked pretty good. So I'm just kind of curious to how this one's going to go. Obviously, it's in Tomy again, so I assume it's probably going to be another 22 episode series. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Watching more of that. I do want to talk about one more show. I'm going to talk about one of the two Gundam shows this year, Gundam G no Reconquista. So this season we have two Gundam shows. We have a sequel to last year's Gundam Build Fighters, which we have this season is Gundam Build Fighters Try, which is more of the same, which is fine. But I just do want to talk about this new one. So Tomino is heralding this new one, Gundam G no Reconquista. I know some people were concerned, obviously, because Tomino hasn't done a new Gundam in a while, and I thought the first 3 episodes, which I've seen up to the first 3 episodes so far, because that's what's out, and I actually enjoyed it. Definitely not the best Gundam. The writing's kind of, I wouldn't say up to par with some of the other ones, because it's not like constant, like, okay, we have 2 sides, we know what they're already fighting. That's it. So the story's set like far out past UC. Like it's in a new thing called Reguild Century, which is like way beyond Universal Century. One thing I do want to notice is that the show has somewhat of a retro design to it. It almost has that. Has the designs I'd say not similar to Turn a Gundam, but it's definitely sort of a throwback design. I like the mech designs. They're definitely different. It's definitely showing you that it is, it's still kind of UC, but it's so far past UC, but they do make references that because they do make the reference to Universal Century several times. And in the second episode, they show like a lot of mobile suits they show some mobile suits from that time. So this is to show that, yeah, this is sort of within kind of the same continuity. I think the actions is animated nicely. I'm kind of concerned that it's only 24 episodes, not the traditional like 49 or 50 some episodes that most of the Gundam shows are. Well, at least most of like the longer ones. So I'm kind of just concerned where they're going to go with that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. What surprises me is we don't have an official streaming announcement for that one yet. I kind of thought that one would be streaming already.
Yeah, I'd figure at the very least it would hit Daisuke.
I'm not going to mention how I'm watching it, and I won't say that. I won't say how I'm watching it. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing more of it.
You must have wicked access. People.
No comment at this time.
Just a friendly nudge, nudge, wink, wink, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
He won that Aniplex thing and got sent to Japan.
Well, I've already been to Japan, but hey, I wouldn't mind going back again. So that's all I have to talk about, at least for the stuff that I'd seen that you guys have not. So what about you guys?
All right, so I guess we can jump to our next title.
If you're not into Type Moon, you're not a fan of Type Moon.
I'd like to take a few seconds to talk about a show that I think I'm the only one watching. I know Matt's shown some interest, and Anthony, you've mentioned that you don't have much interest at all. I
got 11 shows I'm watching. I got too much show on my plate.
Fair enough. So I started off Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, which is a Type Moon adaptation based on, obviously, Fate Stay Night, the Unlimited Blade Works story branch. And basically, it revolves around Rin Tosaka, who is, I guess I'll start from the beginning. It's set in a world that's not much different from our own. Basically, it's a place where certain select people can use magic, and every 50 years, the most prestigious magic users come together to fight what is known as a Holy Grail War. Basically, it's a showdown between magic users and summoned assistants known as servants, who come in like 7 traditional RPG-ish classes to get the Holy Grail, which can grant any one wish out there.
Are the servants like familiars?
Pretty much. They're humanoid familiars. There's stuff like...
And there's at least one character named Shiki, right? Since it's this Type Moon.
I couldn't tell you. But basically, yeah, they're humanoid familiars. Like, there's, say, Saber, who is kind of like the face of the early parts of the series, the blonde woman with a giant sword, and characters like that. Anyway, the series revolves around Rin Tosaka, who is one of the most prestigious of these families. But her family's never won a Holy Grail War, but they've always been known as incredibly gifted mages that have always held their own and done very well overall, which has given them rise to a lot of fame, a lot of fortune within that community, within that, like, that culture. So she's a young one of means. Her father died fairly recently, and she basically lives in this giant house on her own. She goes to a prestigious private school, and it's coming up upon her day to decide a servant for the Holy Grail War. So Rin, deciding that she should get the strongest, tries to summon a Saber familiar, which goes horribly wrong. She ends up with a completely different familiar known as Archer, who is a fairly smart alecky, fairly brash, surprisingly stylish guy. And they don't take too well together at first. Basically, he starts talking down on her. She ends up putting him right in his place with Command Seal, which is a lot of jargon that I'm not going to get into. Anyway, it quickly becomes apparent that stuff's starting to go down already, and there's actually another mage at the school that they have to kind of deal with before someone outside gets killed. Because while it's only between the mages and the familiars, the core rules are no witnesses, so, any witness gets killed, and, well, it is a fight to the death, so if you lose, you're either going to surrender or you're going to die. What really struck me, though, I just thought this first episode was just wonderful. The pacing was brilliant. The direction was fantastic. I mean, they basically allow these characters to kind of build themselves. Like, the first 10 minutes kind of show how Rin interacts with the world around her. They give you a good idea of how her personality works, how everything works through her interactions with the people, with the world, as opposed to just kind of forcing it down your throat. There's a lot of show don't tell that's done, which is brilliant. A lot of organic, atmospheric plot being brought up instead of just tossing info dumps. The characters are genuinely likable. There's a lot of personality, a lot of charm in the visual style of the designs. And even the action scenes. The action scenes are just brilliant. They're choreographed well. They're so fun to watch. I went into this having really high hopes after Fate Zero, and I was just blown away. I really enjoyed what I've seen so far of Unlimited Blade Works, and I can't wait to see the rest of the season.
It sounds like quite the show.
I know. I'm always a little bit skittish around Type Moon shows, to be honest, but it's on Crunchyroll and it's airing this season, so I'm going to give it at least a little bit of a shot.
Yeah, I I can definitely see why people are skittish around Type Moon. Their earlier stuff, like Studio Dean's Fate Stay Night adaptation, the Tsukihime, there was a lot of expository dialogue, a lot of info dumping that it pulls you right out of the show. It seems like with this new crew at UFO Table, they've really managed to work their way out of that. And they've kind of come to terms with getting a firm grip on what makes a good show as opposed to a good adaptation.
I honestly,
if that makes sense.
Actually, I thought Tsukihime was pretty good. I don't really recall enough details to say whether I felt crushed by infodumps or not, but with their stuff, and I'm probably going to get lynched for saying this, but and I'm going to sound a little bit cliche as well, but I always got a little bit of a style over substance vibe with Type Moon stuff, and it's hard to qualify, so I'm not going to try to in this time period. But I felt it most strongly recently with Kanan. I would say the Kara no Kyokai Garden of Sinners stuff was a little bit better in that department, but it definitely has it definitely has that pay attention to this quality. It's like let me coach you through what's happening with action and flashiness. And yeah. I don't mean to demean it or anything. It's obviously well choreographed in most cases. I can't think of anything that I've watched of theirs that wasn't very good action wise. It's just when I sat back and thought about it, I was like, what really happened in this show?
I can definitely respect that. It's not something for everyone either. I mean, Type Moon stuff typically targets a very small, albeit vocal niche. So, yeah, I can definitely respect that.
On the other hand, I feel like they've been contributing something that anime has been missing. It's hard to qualify exactly what that is, but there's a certain production quality that all of their stuff has that's worth shooting for.
Yeah, definitely. They make gorgeous stuff. They have gorgeous stuff. There's always a fantastic atmosphere to their work, so all right. I guess we can move on from this one to a show that you actually told me about this yesterday. I can't understand what my husband is saying. Basically, it's a show about a woman who marries... let's be honest, he's an otaku.
That means you fit in with me, then.
I'm just going to say I love the premise because it is so ridiculous. Like, at least at face value. Like, it's hard to imagine that any otaku has had contact with a woman long enough to get her to marry him.
I mean, some of the stuff in it is just brilliant, though. Like, what was episode 1? Because there's 2 episodes available as of this recording. Episode 1, it shows him absolutely fawning over a show, and the wife just asks, what's so important? He just goes right off and saying, she is my waifu! You don't understand, she is my waifu! And she just says, like, I'm your wife.
This sounds like something I should check out someday.
It is. I mean, it's a 3-minute show, but it's a really good 3-minute show.
Well, now I'm somewhat less interested in watching it.
No, it's definitely like it's definitely like quick draw comedy. It's probably animated from 4-panel comics, and like they really really rapidly switch between the jokes. But I found it hilarious, to be honest.
Because like I said, I'm not big on the short form anime. Like the other day, I was trying to watch this one that aired last season, Hime Goto, and I got to about the 9th episode, and I'm so fucking sick of it. And I'm like, because Okay, so what the story is about is this guy who his parents decide to go around the world and collect a bunch of debts in his name because they're wonderful parents. So one day he runs to school dressed like a girl because he just happens to look feminine, and the Yakuza have him dress up this way. So the student council of the school he goes to, which is comprised of these 3 girls, they somehow throw in all this money and solve his problems. But there was a catch. The catch is he has to dress up as a girl the first entire time in high school, and he has to be they act as their dog or his slave, and and it started out okay, except then the girls just got more mean spirited, and I'm just like, fuck this. I got sick of it by episode 9, but since it's a short form anime, I'll probably check it out once it's all finished, because the thing I have with short form anime is I find them better if it's all like out and I can just like watch a few episodes at a time instead of just trying to watch like an episode now and the next week try to watch an episode. It just doesn't work for me. I just can't do it that way. I just find the short shows to me are best in like watching a couple episodes, like a few episodes of one sitting, but I have them all available though to do so.
I think it just depends. Like, if you consider something like Abichu, I could not imagine watching more than one episode of that at a time.
Oh, no. I need to actually get back and watch more of that. Like, some shows...
That show is just...
That show is rawness embodied, and it's wonderful.
I need to really finish
What just happened?
Yeah.
That's every episode, I swear.
Maybe after Thanksgiving I'll go back and try to finish it up.
But this show is like you could definitely, I think you could take this show in pretty much any increment, to be honest. In a way, this show was almost immediately disappointing because they let me start over. So at the very beginning they go through like their thoughts at their wedding, and then they had a short segment on the honeymoon, which is all like, I'm not gonna, spoil anything, but it was hilarious. I could not stop laughing. But then then after that, the wedding and the honeymoon, they get into their normal routine, which is, it's almost like everything's sped up at that point. It's like we've gotten, we've set the scene, so now we can just like barrel along at 4,000 miles per hour. And every once in a while, it gets the common timing right, and the joke is just freaking awesome. But then it for every really great joke, I feel like it's gotten it's done several of them that just fell flat, and I think it's just because of the breakneck speed that they're doing it. Like, I think if you understand the otaku reference, which I'm sure there's a common problem. If you understand the reference, then you probably think it's funny, but not necessarily. I think they just go through it really fast.
Well, and that's also, I think, because it's it is a short. You have to go through some of these jokes so quickly.
Yeah,
or sometimes you get to something and miss the joke. Like, I'll give another shows that this was me. I think this is what really bothered me. It sort of got me almost turned off completely on the short anime form. There was a show from a few years ago called Chitose Getchu. I think that's what it was called. And I just remember like they would have this thing. They would get the joke, like to set up the joke, and then it would end. But apparently which was always based off of 4-Coma, but apparently what people were telling me was that, like you'd have like the punchline at the end of the joke. Well, they just, never do the punchline, and it's just like, oh, that was kind of shitty. But then again, I think that was a limitation of it being a short, and that kind of I initially turned me off to watching more short anime shows until I got into Italia, but
that sounds like they just did a bad job.
They did, but I also think again
you don't tell a joke and not the punchline just because you ran out of time.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I didn't care for that show that much because I just got to a point where I'm just like, why the fuck am I watching this anymore? And I dropped it, which was I'm glad I did. But
anyway, TLDR. After 2 episodes, I think this show is funny.
Likewise.
At least funny enough that I want to keep watching.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out at some point in the future. Maybe at the end of the year. Once it's done, I'll, maybe marathon it.
All right, I guess we can move to our next topic. Our next title, Akatsuki no Yono, which is I believe this is a shoujo title. Basically,
it's Studio Pierrot, so yes.
Yeah, it's a Pierrot show. It revolves around Princess Yona, the only princess of this kingdom of this. It's like China or something, like some foreign land. They don't specify exactly which,
but only that it's very small.
Yeah,
and surrounded by powerful neighbors.
Exactly. And basically, she lives with her father, the king, her servant Sonhak, and her third cousin and love interest Suwon. By the way, it's just it's not going to become one of those types of shows, I don't think. But anyway, on the day of her 16th birthday, she goes to see Suwon, who's visiting for her her birthday, and she sees that Suwon murders her father because he wants to become the king of the nation. And with Hawk's help, they escape to Hawk's birthplace, which is a village called the Village of the Wind. And this kicks off this massive journey to
the west. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Well, not quite, but it's basically a journey around the country to find 4 legendary warriors. Well, sorry, 4 legendary dragons. Sorry, brain fart.
The Journey of Kino. Wait,
pretty much.
No, that's not it.
Basically, it's so far from what I've seen, the closest thing I can draw parallels to, and it's in terms of tone and pacing. It reminds me a lot of Fushigi Yugi, because it's like Fushigi Yugi. It's a serious in nature show, but it has these moments where it just bursts in these random bits of lighthearted comedy to kind of keep the mood and the pacing going. There are a lot of a lot of story cues that borrow heavily from Yu Atasi's work, so it really does appeal to me on that level. It's definitely an interesting show. It's a bit predictable at times because, well, we've all seen this stuff before, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would pretty much say the same thing, except I'm not familiar with Fushigi Yugi, and it's hard to tell if I ever will be at this point. I may pick it up. I'm not sure. But it's definitely, like you say, that the beginning is really gripping for me, and because it's like, these sort of shadowy characters, I don't know, that we don't really that we're not really familiar with, but they seem almost battle hardened. But then it flashes to like this 16-year-old princess's 16th or just turning 16-year-old princess and her like girly problems.
Yeah, it's like it goes from standing on this cliff talking about making their next move, and then there she is sitting in her room fussing about her hair.
So I think how much I like the show is really going to come down to how much of it is this 16-year-old girl's 16-year-old girly problems versus the life and death stuff. It definitely, the first episode definitely redeems itself in that sense, I think. It really gets back on point from how it opens. I just really wonder what the typical episode is going to be like.
Well, like I said, it draws heavily, like, its style is heavily drawn from Fushigi. I know you haven't seen it, but they did this a lot, where it would kind of go from one lighthearted moment to a much darker. It kind of modulated to keep the mood generally on the lighter end of things, to keep things from getting, like, overly oppressive. Of course...
But from what I understand about Fushigi Yugi, that's the whole theme of the show.
Right. until, I'm not going to spoil for Shigeyuki, but...
This one, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if the, I don't know if the lighthearted stuff was just set up to show her character. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, I need a couple of episodes to really kind of feel it out still. Yeah, but I do like what I see.
At least she doesn't wind up being violated in the end.
Yeah, that's true. I don't need another show like that.
So, out of the out of the two shows between spoiled princesses, one of them ended decidedly better.
Yeah, everything ended a lot better.
But yeah, I don't dislike stuff for girls. Out of principle, I dislike some of it because I frankly feel bored watching it, and I'm not interested in her problems. Especially if it's the kind of show that I'll just characterize as the CW special. There's just this never-ending stream of drama, and it all feels contrived in the end. But obviously, even being a man, I'm interested in how girls see the world, and I like some of these shows.
Absolutely.
Girls and women, I should say. It's not like I'm specifically interested in girls.
If so, then it would be a Mark van outside your house.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we can move on, and I'm going to talk about a show that I've seen, none of you guys have seen, and I pray that you don't. This is a show.
And what show is that, Mike?
It's actually one of PonyCan USA's first releases in the US. It's called Denki-Gai. And
that's PonyCan?
Yeah, that's PonyCan.
Oh man.
I mean,
I'm just going to say I haven't seen the show. I could not get past the preview video or the promotional videos. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Well,
I only seen still images of it.
I was crazy enough to watch 2 episodes. The first episode, basically the premise is, it's kind of like Working in a sense, or Wagnaria, where it's a bunch of quirky characters working in a retail store that is basically Toroana, but not Toroana. So they sell manga at not Toroana. And each one has their own specific quirks, which they're named after. You have Sensei, who's the manga artist, Samalir, who's the manga expert, and so on and so forth. Real creative guys, by the way. Anyway, the first episode was kind of middling. I wasn't thrilled, but I was willing to give it another chance. The first episode, it shows them going through, and the issue is Sensei is... They reveal this manga artist that one of the characters really enjoys. So they end up going to her house to try and help her get things ready before the deadline so she can work at Comic-Con. And obviously, Sensei, even though she's a manga artist, she's a surprise, she's incredibly childish, does stupid things like have temper tantrums, and yeah, surprise. It's a lot of the humor felt like it was supposed to be funny, but it just fell so flat. Like the whole thing was telegraphed miles and miles in advance. Like you didn't even need binoculars to see this thing rising above the horizon. A lot of these jokes are stuff we've seen billions upon billions of times before. There was no real creativity, no real drive to do anything unique. It was just so much retread mixed in with this whole backdrop of the manga shop. It just didn't work well. And then you had like the government lady who is working in accordance to the new child protection law to make sure they weren't selling 18 plus stuff to minors. Where secretly she really loves 18 plus stuff, and they catch her again, surprise, at the store buying adult manga. But anyway, episode 1 was harmless enough. I could have easily dropped and said, that wasn't good. No, I was soon enough to watch episode 2. Episode 2 is where what I call... Well, I'm not going to tell you what I call it because I'd be kicked off the air. This is where the shit really hits the fan, basically. Anyway, it starts off at this manga event launch where it's apparently this really anticipated thing. Several years have passed, and the author is finally finishing off the story. And one of the customers, who they call Fu Girl, ends up missing the last train home. They all end up having a bit of a sleepover at the store, so that she doesn't have to walk home at like 2 in the morning. So that was okay, but this is where it starts going wrong. In the middle of the night, the manager, aka director, ends up waking up in the middle of the night. This girl, who looks like she couldn't be more than 10 years old, is straddling him like a pony.
Excellent.
With her pony can.
With her pony can, yes. And on top of that, she's sitting there. She's red-faced, panting. So I'm already sitting there. It's like, all right, I'm done. Well, apparently they decided to use this as a source of humor. She ended up painting him like a zombie because she has a thing for zombies. Specifically, she gets turned on by killing them. Now, again, I was just done at this point. Like, my mind was like, okay, I am done with this. Just make it go away. But I was crazy to keep watching. The next segment shows Fugirl and the people at the manga store at this event where all these different retailers compete in various games to win like $10,000 in a party or something like that. Now, that shouldn't be anything bad, but nope. They had to go straight to fucking Nopeville on this one. The first event was the events were just all perverted in nature. Like they had something where the contestant had to grab panties with their teeth and run across a finish line, push his giant rubber testicle across down a racetrack, carry their waifus. Wow, I have actually said waifu more times than I've ever said during the run of this podcast tonight. But anyway,
what, twice?
Yeah, I had to carry them in like this.
At least one of them was a direct quote.
Yeah, but the whole thing was just skeezy. The whole event was just skeezy in nature. Like, as I was watching, I was saying, I really think I should be taking a shower after this. I mean, it was horrible. Like, wasn't funny. It was just sleazy, and not in that Cool John Waters way. I mean, I do not recommend people watch this. It was terrible.
The only thing I remember seeing a picture was that guy with that. Looks like he has like a baseball or grapefruit in front of his Speedo.
Oh, yes, the banana hammock.
Yeah, I seen that. I'm like, wow. I'm like, glad I didn't watch this. The
male characters wore banana hammocks during the final event, which was a squirt gun fight. And it was just shameless fan service. Like, there was no substance, nothing to it. It was just episode 2. It just blatant fan service for the sake of having fan service. There was no nuance, no nothing. It's like, nope, here's some ass, here's some tits. Go nuts.
And I usually like that kind of stuff, but from the way you described it, I don't sound like I want to watch this show.
I find it very... What am I trying to say? Boring.
It was handled very poorly.
Well, it's like, I can enjoy stuff like Kill la Kill, which turns fan service into the entire premise, shamelessness into the entire premise of the show.
I mean,
but it's not like Gainax didn't do that before. I mean,
yeah, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to...
everything that the Gurren Lagann / Kill la Kill team did, Gainax has done before. That's kind of the point of their existence. But anyway.
But likewise, I mean, I'm not opposed to fan service in general, but I mean, there's a point where you have to have some nuance to things, people. You know, it's like there's a point where it's like, okay, now it's just getting creepy.
Well, yeah, that's true. If you are trying to take the show, if the show's trying to take itself seriously, because if it isn't, then yeah, you can go balls to the wall with fan service if it doesn't take itself seriously.
I think there's a higher bar, to be honest. I'm okay with a show that, maybe I don't find it funny, but it's obviously trying to be funny.
I mean, comedy is going to be subjective.
But I don't give it a pass for that. Like, just because it doesn't take itself seriously doesn't mean that it's passable in my mind.
Well, yeah, if it's trying to be a comedy, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
if the show's not a comedy and it doesn't do that, then that's fine. I mean,
but usually it's like you say. Usually with comedy, I can accept that I'm not the target audience.
right. Likewise, I mean, something like this, it hit me. It's like, yeah, this isn't good. There are shows that I've watched, and I can appreciate the humor if I'm not exactly moved by it, but this one just, yeah.
well, so that's obviously one of Pony Can's shows that they got that so far doesn't look to be anything good. Hopefully the other one they got hopefully turns out to be good, but then again, not all shows can be great. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say I'm not interested in anything Ponycan has to offer unless it begins with "ah" and ends with "my goddess."
yeah, I mean, I will be honest. If they put out "Oh My Goddess," the like Fighting Wings and the various OVAs over the years, I would open my wallet right now for it.
I'll just see obviously what the future brings for them.
Definitely. I'm not gonna lie, things could be worse. It could be Abunai Sisters again, but
I did not never watch that.
don't.
I will not.
Oh man, I got.
Well, you know what? They do have international rights.
Do you really accept that as part of the corpus of the stuff that we cover?
No.
Hey, but you know what they do? They do have international rights for that.
I think I actually watched some of that.
It's horrible.
That was the worst 3 minutes of my life.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, and that's our show, everyone. And remember, anime is an endless waltz of war, peace, and revolution. Coming at you from Nerdy Talk, it's Mike Ferreira.
Anthony Simpson, bye-bye.
And Matt Brown.
And we are signing off. Have a great night. Remember to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. Give us a rating. It really helps. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Peace.